Hello, welcome to the program Political Viewpoint on ASO Television. My name is Topsy Gimba, your host, and I urge you to be with me on this program this evening. You know what the program stands for. It gives you the opportunity to listen to issues being discussed that are of national interest. The program again provides me with the opportunity to bring guests in to talk on issues they know how to discuss best for those who are watching us right now. Don't forget the program is being streamed live on Facebook, and we're on social platforms such as Star Times, including ArabSat, where you watch us. Well, indeed, this edition appears to be very interesting because the world is gradually changing in the sense that population explosion is becoming a situation whereby governments are really thinking of how to provide food for the growing population. And of course, in the recent time, we realize that indeed scientific innovations are being introduced in terms of providing food security for people by producing what today we call modified, genetically modified organism for people to eat. What that means is this food that we eat is not like the one naturally provided for us. These have been chemicalized, and of course we consume them, and the belief is that as much as they are being chemicalized, they provide more use for people or for farmers to get. But of course there are these dangers that have been associated to it, and it is on that note we decided to invite experts to speak to us on the dangers of what's really happening. Today we now discover juveniles, of course, suffering for ailments that people who are supposed to have suffered at the age of 60 or 70, like diabetes, cancer, and all that. And of course, this is the reason of why these diseases are manifesting even among the younger generation today, and developing countries like Nigeria are suffering the most. It is on that note I decided to invite an expert to really talk to us on what are the dangers associated with these genetically modified organisms, and they're called GMO. With me in the studio I have Mr. Segun Adebayo. He is Deputy Director, Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research, simply put as CEFSAR. You are welcome to the studio, live and direct on ASO Television.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, from the introduction, you categorically understand where the direction of this program is really going. Yeah. I had the opportunity of meeting with you, and I saw it as a privilege to share the wealth of knowledge you have for those who are watching us to know the dangers that are associated with what we call GMOs today in Nigeria. We are gradually accepting it into the country, and we wouldn't know what it is if we continue to consume some of these GMOs. So you are an expert. Tell us, why are people suffering diseases that ought to be suffered by those who are the age of 60, 70? We find that happening with the young ones today at 10, 12, 15, they get involved with it. What could have been the reason or reasons behind that?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, we need to know what are GMOs. GMOs are simply called genetically modified organisms. There are genetically modified flora and fauna, in other words, plants and animals. In other words, it means the natural genome of that organism is no longer the same way it used to be. It has been tampered with. In other words, additional instructions have been added to the naturally occurring genome system of that organism. So it is no longer created by God. It is now a man-made product because the genetical constituent has been altered. It has been changed. And we all know the importance of the genome of any organism. It carries the hereditary traits. It carries every single instruction. It's like in programming language, we say it is the source file of an organism. Why is this person tall? Why is this person short? Why is this person acting the way he's acting? Many of those things come from the genome system of that organism. Now, when you alter the genome of an organism, it changes the outcome. It changes how that organism would function and how the organism will interact with its environment. It will not be as it used to be. That is what a genetically modified organism is. And we are having this conversation today because these are new new terminologies that are being introduced into our food systems. And you need to begin to interrogate the reasons. Why would we be eating something that is not organic? Why are we eating something that is not the way it used to be? So it's important that we understand so that we can make informed decisions.
Yeah.
You can choose to, and you may choose not to. But the most important thing is that the public must be aware, both the consumers, the farmers, those who will farm it, and the policymakers, everybody in the value chain that controls how this thing is being introduced must be knowledgeable, because it is imported technology. We must be sure that we know about it and it is what we want. And that's why we're having this conversation.
Okay. So does it have any effect?
Are there effects with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Emphatically, yes. There are effects with, and you see, the things you hear, like what we're saying now on the genetically modified organisms, you can do your own personal study on them. You can go and read about them in your quest for knowledge, because it's important you know what it is. Yes, there are challenges with them. It impacts on human health, consuming genetically modified foods. Let me take it a step after the other.
All right.
So we move into what the dangers of GMOs are. The first danger of GMOs, as we know them today, like in Nigeria, we recently read in the news that teller maize, which is a genetically modified variant of maize, has been commercialized. It was in the news in January this year, and it's been celebrated in different parts of the country. And we must understand how genetically modified organisms interact with the organization, with the natural biodiversity, our natural place. The first challenge with genetically modified organisms, in this case food, is that the extra information that has been added into that particular crop, who wrote it? What is it? What instructions have been added to that particular crop? Because if I take a corn seed, a seed of corn now, the one that I have always known from when I was a child, growing up,
naturally,
a natural one, I take it, I drop it in the ground to grow. Then it produces a yield. I have more corn cobs here and there. If I take one of the seeds from those ones there, I take it through the normal process, I dry it. After, when it's ready for planting, I plant it, I wet the ground and all that. It sprouts again. It continues. And then I continue on and on and on. I can continue planting from that stock for the next 5 to 6 years, and they'll keep growing. But that's not the case with genetically modified crops. So you are given a seed and you're told that this is a genetically modified seed. Most times
made by man.
Made by man. Most times they are F1. What that means is first generation. You plant it, it grows into it grows. You see the corn cobs there and there. You can't take those seeds and replant them. They are sterile.
Okay.
So what happens is you have to go back to who you bought that seed from and buy seeds again each planting season.
Okay.
That is not
the one you
sustainable.
Planted,
Yes.
and it has produced.
Yes.
And then with the hope that you want to keep it for
the next planting
season, when you plant it, it will not grow.
You will be disappointed.
Wow.
It will not grow.
Until you go back to the
Until you
instructor.
go back to the merchants. You have to go back to the merchants to buy the seeds again. The danger with that is the moment the merchants say the seeds are no longer available, what would you do? Now, would you revert back to your organic seeds on your farm? Hold on. that farm may not be able to sustain any other crop apart from that genetically modified crop. Why? Because the ground, the land, has been polluted with heavy chemicals.
Heavy chemicals.
Heavy agrochemicals. Now, because you see, the seed manufacturers don't sell the seeds alone. They also produce. They're also the producers of herbicides that go with the package. You cannot have a GMO. You cannot successfully practice GMO farming without having the addendum herbicides that go with them. Now,
to kill weeds.
To kill the weeds. Now, here's how it works. Plants are vascular by nature. In other words, they uptake nutrients from the ground. You know. Now, that genetically modified plant, corn, I'll use corn. The genome has been tampered with. A new instruction has been put in it that it should be resistant to those herbicides. So I can successfully, douse my land, my farmland, with heavy agrochemicals. They will kill the weeds, but they will not kill my crop.
Anything green.
They will kill anything green.
But not that genetically modified.
Genetically modified crop. So it clears out all the weeds. Everything goes apart from the genetically modified crops. Now that is a selling point.
Yes.
A lot of people think about, oh, this is good.
Yeah,
it's good.
I'm not weeding. My crops are growing.
Yes, it's growing. But here are the dangers to it. You are polluting the ground. Heavy agrochemicals. I will talk about the nature of those chemicals in a bit. Those heavy agrochemicals, they seep into the ground, find their way to our water systems, and then as it's going, what's happening? It's killing your biodiversity. Those heavy chemicals are the GMO crops are resistant to them, but the rest of your flora are not resistant to them. They begin to wipe them out. And now here's where it even gets more interesting. After a while, you will begin to see some other weeds growing there. And those weeds will become what you call super weeds. They will become resistant to the chemicals. So if your first planting season, you planted, you used maybe a certain number of herbicides for it. By your next planting season, for you to deal with those super weeds, you will need more, higher dose of those agrochemicals. And then what are you doing? You are dousing the land, you're dousing it. You cannot practice mixed farming that way. For instance, in a regular farming environment, a farmer can decide to plant his maize and then plant cover crops. He decides to plant melons, or, and then they have cover crops that will reduce the growth of weeds. Those things are not possible with GMO farms. You practice monocropping. And here is where it even gets more dangerous. Here's where it even gets more dangerous. A certain organization recently was trying to put out information that the government needs to educate the people fully before they deploy genetically modified crops and farming systems. And they said that's because if you have a GMO farm, let's say in this, your beautiful studio, all around it, or you have a GMO farm of corn here, 600 meter square radius, you cannot where you are. You cannot have an organic maize farm there.
You cannot corn.
No, you shouldn't, because the GMO, the genetically modified farm of maize will cross-pollinate and contaminate your natural corn, and it will make those ones become like them. They will become sterile. Barren. Yes, you begin to lose your natural heirloom. This problem, the Mexican government faced it, and then they decided to stop the importation and cultivation of genetically modified corn. And it's interesting that at this time, when other countries are rejecting this, we are at this time, we are embracing it and we are introducing it into our farming systems. So this is where we now need to begin to carefully look at what we are doing. Are we destroying? The food security that at the beginning of this conversation you said that with population explosion we're trying to use this to solve our food security problems.
Yeah.
Are we not creating new problems with our food security when we introduce these so-called measures to stop food, to mitigate the food security problems?
Yeah.
Because now you begin to have more farmlands contaminated. Who has the luxury to leave 600 meter square barren?
Barren.
Who has the luxury for that?
Not at all.
Nobody has that. So
Yes.
if we begin to farm, do the farmers know these things? Are they aware? The heavy doses of chemicals they will use on their farms, are they aware? Now let's talk about those chemicals.
Okay. Deputy Director, we will take just a short break,
Okay.
so that when you come back, you continue to explain the effect of those chemicals we apply on our farms.
All right, thank you.
So this is Political Viewpoint, and I'm with Deputy Director, Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research, CEFSAR, Deputy Director.
For us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria. Independence for Nigeria in 1960 is imperative. But independence for Nigeria as a corporate entity is not enough. The peoples of Nigeria must at the same time be guaranteed their freedom. We must ensure that in an independent Nigeria, individual citizens throughout the land enjoy liberty, human dignity, and equality under the law. There must be one Nigeria with one constitution and one law for all. Let us therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, close our ears to the counsel of despair, which says that we cannot here at this conference agree on a constitution. If there's any doubt among us as to what should be written into the constitution, let us, as Democrats that we profess ourselves to be, refer such problems, as the goal has done recently, to the people whom we profess to represent, either just before or at the federal elections late in 1959.
The challenge of Nigeria as a free state in 20th century Africa is the need to revive the stature of man in Africa and restore the dignity of man in the world. Nigerians believe passionately in the fundamental human rights. We regard all races of the human family as equal. Under no circumstance shall we accept the idea that the black race is inferior to any other race. I appeal to all our leaders, far and near, to forget the wounds which were inflicted in cause of our internecine altercations. With me, Awolowo, Akitola, Ofarebe, Okpara, Ikoku, Aminu Kano, Ibrahim Imam, and Saka. Let us bind the nation's wound and let us heal the breaches of the past so that in forging our nation, there shall emerge on this continent a hate-free, fear-free, and greed-free people who shall be in the vanguard of a world task force whose assignment is not only to revive the stature of man in Africa, but to restore the dignity of man in the world.
Welcome back. Of course, we are talking about the dangers associated to GMOs in Nigeria. And of course, Mr. Segun Adebayo, Deputy Director, Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research, CEFSAR, is here with us. We've been talking a lot on some of these issues, but now he's going to tell us the implications of having chemical on your farm.
Thank you. And I hope in another time I would want the director also to come and let's maybe in another meeting.
Sure. What do you mind?
He's a professor, Professor Christopher Gamua. He's a professor of biochemistry, majors in chemistry. So in another time he will be here.
That's all right.
But then I could tell you what the dangers are with having the presence of these dangerous chemicals on your farm. Now, a genetically modified farm is a genetically modified food menu, because the things you eat, they come from the farm. The chemicals that get into those, the genetically modified crops, because they are vascular plants. These plants, from the roots, they absorb these chemicals and they go in there and they are stored. Then those things will get to your menu. So whatever those chemicals are, you must know that you are also consuming in your menu those heavy chemicals. Now, among the chemicals, I'm going to speak on 2 of those chemicals. One of them is glyphosate. Now, glyphosate is known. I mean, this is common knowledge. You can go to the internet, you look at it everywhere. It is first of all banned in Germany. It is banned in several European countries. It is banned in several countries around the world. You go to Russia, it's banned. In fact, it's an act of terrorism to decide to say you want to go into GMO farming.
It's an act of terrorism?
Yes.
In some other countries?
Yes. Now, glyphosate is banned because it is high. It is one of the most carcinogenic chemicals. In other words, it causes cancer. There is sufficient research to show that eating genetically modified foods will get you cancer. There's sufficient research on that. There's a professor, Professor Seralini. He fed GMOs to some of his rats for a prolonged period of time, about 8 months. And after 8 months, those rats developed cancerous tumors in their bodies. So there's sufficient research out there. Of course, the marketers of these GMOs and the marketers of these chemicals, which is contained in a very popular one called Roundup. You know, in fact, you have seeds and crops, they will tell you they are Roundup ready. In other words, they are tolerant to Roundup. In other words, you can use Roundup in heavy doses on those crops and nothing will happen. But those crops will uptake that chemical, glyphosate, and it will get into your menu. And then you see societies that have embraced GMO heavily. You will see them with high cases of cancer. Now, let me say something here. Go and check it. The marketers, the producers of GMOs, the people who produce the seeds, the people who are the same people who sell the herbicides, and they are also the same people who are the highest donors to the pharmaceutical, to the big pharma. So when the people finally get the cancer, they are going to be managed by the same people. So are you not looking at a business model here?
Honestly.
Because you are creating demand for cancer. You are creating the demand, then you come, because cancer is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
To manage it is not easy.
To manage it, you spend almost $500,000 per case.
Yeah.
So when you do the mathematics, how many people in US
in the communities?
Go to, yes, the facts are there. You're looking at almost $64 to $70 billion industry, cancer management. And who benefits? The highest investors, the highest investors and the top shareholders in big pharma, who are the same people producing the GMO seeds that are being brought to us, and they are the same people who are producing the chemicals, the herbicides. So we must know when we are being attacked. We must know, as a country, you're looking at the health of your people. This is a health case. Yes, so the question is this: why are are governments even looking into the direction of GMOs in the first place? Because they will tell you that it will combat your food security problems. They will tell you that you get higher yields. You can get up to 8 hectares per ton. You know, they advertise all these things. But you must know when a market. Have you ever seen somebody who a drug marketer market the side effects of his drug?
At all. It tells you the good side of it.
It tells you the good sides. So you must now be. You must now be interested in knowing
the side
effects of it, because you see, ignorance is our biggest problem in Africa, and that's one of the reasons why we are easy to take things from the West. And you know, you take these things, and you must know the position these Western organizations. You must understand their position into your country. I'll give you a very good example. We all saw very recently when Epis broke the hegemony of flight travels out of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And we all saw it. They went to the UK, they were not celebrated. The normal celebrations for a new airline coming into nothing was celebrated. Why?
They were sad about it.
They were sad about it. Why? Because they were actually playing into the field of these people who always come to us.
The grandfathers of this industry.
2.5 million per ticket to UK. The 2.5 million economy tickets. You see it, high cost. And then the next moment, an indigenous airline comes up and is ready to break that hegemony, and then they're trying to frustrate it.
Wow.
So you must understand their positioning. And you know, you must understand what is going on.
Honestly.
To know whether it is for you or not for you.
Sure. Well, I'm beginning to get interested in this discussion, but of course we're going to take a short break. I'm sorry to interjecting you intermittently, but of course you're all for good, so that at the end of the day we'll have a very good production. Okay. So we shall be back after a while, I guess. And well, of course, it's unfortunate rather, because of the challenges we are being faced, whether or whatever, the program might not continue to a certain extent, but just round off the program, so to speak.
All right, thank you. So, you know, we're having this for enlightenment purposes, to make informed decision. You out there might be interested in GMOs, you know, but you must know what you are taking, and that's the reason why we are doing this. That's the reason why we're bringing this knowledge to you. You must know about it. You must know if you're a policymaker. You must know, because you might be signing it into policy. You might be signing it, and you might also be as well signing your death certificate, signing the death certificate of your family members, signing the death certificate of your community and your people. If you don't know enough to make a very informed decision, don't just take anything that is marketed to you. Listen to researchers, listen to your indigenous researchers, people who have love for their country, people who are interested in the well-being of our people, so you make informed decisions. And on that note, I think we can round up today, and we would like to come back.
I wouldn't mind, honestly.
I would like to come back.
I wouldn't mind, Shegun. I wouldn't mind. I appreciate you for being part of this program this evening. Well, that's about to start the program, Political Report on ASO Television. Of course, we shall be doing that again. A repeat can still come up as we go on the program. My name again is Topsy Gimba. Don't forget that news will be coming your way by 7, so I urge you to stay tuned. Don't go away. I told you a while ago when I was on the program that the program is being streamed live, so watch us on Facebook. Those who couldn't watch us as it is